Welcome back, everybody, to Beard of Darkness book reviews. Oh, it feels so good to say that, and I'm so happy to be here with a gentleman who not only has really been there and talking with me, who's inspired me through this journey called BookTube or this writing community, Mr. Christopher G. Brenning. How are you tonight?
I'm doing quite well, my man. Happy to be here. Happy to finally be able to sit down and do this.
So, yeah, we had some stuff scheduled for last year, but my man Christopher is a working man. He does. I respect a lot of what he does. My uncle, a very important person to me, passed away a few years ago. Did exactly what Christopher does. You want to throw up what that is real quick?
I can't give away all my secrets now.
Well, you don't have to give away all of it. You're a working man.
I do work outdoors. I manage at a company that does snow removal during the winter, and I'm like the second in command for that. So it's a pretty demanding job, especially in Wisconsin during the winter. But thankfully, we got blessed with a mild winter, so it wasn't too bad.
So my uncle did that in Michigan, and it's one of those things. The consensus, the people of the community wake up, and it's just kind of they don't really think of it. So it's one that right. When people do think of it, they're highly thankful for it. So, all right, man. So I'm super pumped to finally talk with you. Your beard game is top notch. I've never grown that much hair in the amount of time I've been on Earth. So highly respect it. And we'll start kind of at the beginning. Going back to how I did interviews when I first started. And first, real quick, I'm going to shout out everybody that's in the chat already. I'm so happy to see you guys. Rosaire Bushy. Yes, we'll get into that. Thank you for bringing it. We had a little chuckle before we came on about that. But the moment I looked at this freaking awesome cover, I said, hold on, is that me? So we'll get into it. Tim, I'm so glad to see you here. It's wonderful. My guy Britton, thank you for being here, my friend. And Derek Gorney. Yes, exactly. We'll get into it. So thank you guys for being here. But David, my brother, my bearded brother, thank you for being here, man. All right, so start kind of with the beginning, your childhood, or whenever you found this inspiration to do what you're doing now. I know there was multiple things that you did through your life that inspired you to be creative, but what started it all? Was there something that was started it all? Let us know what it is.
I've always been a creative person. I've always loved entertaining, especially. So, I mean, one of my earliest memories from elementary school, this is, I'm an old guy now. I'm 40. So, back in the day when you had the Apple 2GS, the old school computer. Yeah, I mean that was like the new exciting thing for us, and so I'd just be dicking around on it, and I was writing my own fantasy stories, kind of like sci-fi, fantasy, actually a little bit of horror. There was some gore in there too, like third grade, just starting to do it and kind of caught the bug, and then middle school, my great aunt got me into stage acting, which I had a blast with that. I did that all through middle school and into high school. I ended up getting a scholarship senior year, for acting. It was great.
Wow.
And then and then I shifted from theater to being in a band, playing live music. Did that for about 12 years, and then after the band fell apart, I kind of decided, maybe I should try creative, because when you're in a group of guys, it's creative visions clash. It's kind of hard to divide sometimes. But I'd picked up writing as a hobby like back in 2003. I was playing like these browser based MMORPGs where it's just text and that's all you're doing, and you come up with your own civilization, your own characters and everything, and you interact with other people, and sometimes you have wars, sometimes you have I don't know. I mean, you could have whatever you want. It was completely freeform. And so that's how, and that's how I came up with some of these characters. Was back in that early day.
I had totally forgot that era, man. Like the MMORP. What does that stand for?
Massive multiplayer online role-playing game.
Oh my goodness! Wow, our age is showing, my brother.
Oh man, I know.
It's okay. It's wonderful though, because guess what? What that comes experience, and I remember not specifically doing or having experience with the MMORPG. I think I said that right. But I had friends who had talked about their past experience with that, and I totally forgot about it. But what a unique time that it is to be alive. Theater was something I found as an adult. I wish I had explored a little more, amongst many other things, such as like choir, very much in the realm of uncomfortability for me. Not a singer, not an actor, but I found through wonderful advice, pressing yourself through those kind of experiences really shows you a lot about yourself.
Right.
So I think that's incredible that you were brave enough to explore so many different aisles or journeys that could possibly be what you did in the future. You weren't scared to kind of taste test. And that's something I didn't do. I kind of, again, I find those different situations that I wish if I could go back in time, change a little bit. So particularly the theater inspires me to kind of dive a little deeper into. So when you say theater, is that specifically acting as like, so when we're watching a movie, us aren't people who aren't familiar with the lingo and theater, is it much like a movie that you're trying to find and develop a character just without the screen?
No, I mean it's just your traditional stage acting. You have a script, you learn your lines and then you just go up there and perform. Really wasn't a whole lot to it, but there were a couple of classes in high school. I mean, I did everything theater in high school. I did stage crew, I did TV production, I did the fall play, the musical. Although I always took the non-singing parts because my clean singing is horrific, nightmare inducing. So, but then and then there was also classes. There was one called Theater Company where you come up with your own, one act, skits or whatever. So I did everything theater. I just absolutely loved entertaining people. It's always been in me. I just and it's not an ego thing. It's not like, oh, look at me, I'm the center of attention. It's if I can save someone from their reality for a short while and let them forget about the rest of the world, then I did my job. And that's where the satisfaction comes in.
I really like how you put that, save somebody from the reality, because one thing that I've found in many aspects of my adult life that I like to remind myself, whether it's an asshole at Walmart or somebody cut me off in traffic, or maybe I'm that guy. Like, you don't know what people are dealing with, and to save somebody from maybe a reality they're not 100% okay with, or they're working on, or they maybe can't find their way to find that way to benefit and get out of that situation. That's, man, respect, because that is very much what I try to do as an adult. To a lot of people, somebody who is rude or who is, could be any of the emotions that you may not agree with or feel in the time, could be for a reason that you're completely unaware of. I really like that. Thank you for saying that. I'm going to have to.
And I mean, for me personally, it's like, when I'm having a bad day or something, really tragic happens in my life or whatever, for me, my relief from that is music. It's music. I have just a big catalog of bands, pretty much one for every mood, every little possibility or whatever. I just throw the music on and I get lost. And for that short little while, the world just kind of goes away. And that's something that I want to do with my books.
I feel what you're saying. Real quick, my wife's probably wanting to punch me right now. We didn't have a vehicle in which you could listen to whatever you wanted. Like the newer vehicles, you could plug in or sync up and listen to whatever you want. And we finally got into getting one of those vehicles for us and our children. And I have been just going hard. All those trips where I'm listening to stuff that's like completely out of my wheelhouse. Now, I'm getting it in there. So a few of those, which maybe throw in if you like them as well. Some System of a Down, huge right now. I'm a huge fan of Breaking Benjamin, some Metallica. a bunch of others. But I'm feeling what you said about how music that's that therapy, right? If somebody was to put that in layman's terms, that's my therapy. And I love hearing that from others. And by the way, guys,
music has gotten me through probably some of the worst times of my life. And if it wasn't for music, I don't even know if I'd be here, honestly.
What is it though? I was wondering, and this is a very vague question because I'm questioning it myself. I was thinking the other night, just lying awake, what is it about music that saves almost everybody that listens to it? Everybody that loves music, which is most people, what is it about it? Is it the emotional ties? What it makes you feel? The lyrics? What would it be for you?
I think all of the above. Especially for me, I do enjoy melodic music. I mean, I'm very eclectic. My music taste has kind of really broadened the past, 5-6 years. But it's everything from the lyrics to just the ambience of the music. The riffs, just the whole feeling of it. And when I write, for example, there's always music playing. I cannot write in silence. I just have to because the music just brings out. Whatever it is I'm hoping to convey on the page, I set the mood with the music and just it's off to the races.
Real quick jump back in time. And this means a lot to me to think about. And I'm glad to bring it up with the man himself as I have you here. The very first interview I ever watched on BookTube was you and the guy that has repped you so hard. And you know his name. What is it?
John Douglas.
And particularly Andrew's Wizardly Reads, man.
Oh yes, I think those guys are competing to see how hard they can rep me.
So 100%. John and Andrew are, I would say, huge and are inspired hugely from what you're doing. Anyway, why I brought that up is you were the very first interview I watched with Andrew, Andrew's Wizardly Reads, with another author. It was you and him, and I commented. You were kind enough to answer some of my questions, and I'm sure you remember them, right? Just by the back of your head. No, I was joking. And he was kind enough to throw those questions on the screen, and they were about music. And I was like, if I ever do get the chance, this is going to happen. And look where we're at. It's coming to fruition. Yeah. Take chances, guys, and talk to people who, I'm talking to Chris right now for many reasons, but one of those is he's doing something that I want to do. So I have things I can learn from Chris. And that's kind of how I build my schedule. But sorry, I go off on tangents sometimes, but often the treasure lies at the end of those. So we may do that a few times.
I'm down, man.
Particularly focusing on literature, who were some foundational inspirations, or what were some foundational inspirations as far as books, authors or books?
I love when people ask me this question because I'm going to blow your mind. I don't read.
Okay. I remember that now.
I don't enjoy reading. I just can't. I think my mind is just way too ADD. I have a stack of books in the living room that I bought with the full intention of reading them. And I get through, the dozen or so, or maybe a chapter, and then it's just my mind is just done at that point, and I cannot concentrate enough to really enjoy reading, so I don't do it. I'm much more of a movie guy, much more of a visual media guy.
You were probably one of the first reasons I looked at being inspired by multiple things rather than just, he's an author, he has to be inspired by other authors or books. And that escaped me until you just brought that back up, because I knew that about you. And I'm glad that I did ask it still, because I think people don't realize you as an author or me as a reader, I could love reading and everything about it and want to write so bad, just not have what it is to be a writer. But I'm a reader and vice versa. So I love that you brought that up. Jim,
and I always throw the disclaimer in there. Sorry to interrupt. I always throw the disclaimer in there. If you read my book and it sounds like I'm copying somebody else, know that it's totally not intentional because I don't read. So I have no way of knowing.
And I think anybody in this community, it's like I hate to say mature or maybe experienced. Is there such a thing as an original thought? Like, we're way
I
too
don't
far
think
into
so.
humanity. You know, it's the tone, your voice that's going to separate you from another person, and that is truly unique and original, without a doubt. Which is
I agree.
crazy, right? As many ideas and
Yeah,
thoughts and frosties out there, but you and how you did, convey that story is original as hell.
yeah. I mean, I've heard it said many times. You know, every story has already been told, but not the way you tell it. And so that kind of helps, you know, sustain me through those times when I go through imposter syndrome and I'm like, gosh, should I really even be wasting my time with this? You know, but it's like, hey, you know, it's just don't get caught up on what everybody else is doing. Just you know, stay focused and just keep going at it, because obviously people are enjoying what I'm doing, and that just means the world to me. That literally is the inspiration to keep going, because it sure as hell ain't the money. You know, it's just the love of doing it.
I don't think there's an indie author out there who isn't, whether you're super successful as far as monetary gains or not, that didn't start and continue, especially continue, right? Because there's lots to it. There's lots of hard work. Didn't continue on that inspiration. And that's what I had no idea I would want to speak with guys like you, indie authors. In fact, I really didn't know what that even was. But it represents what I'm about, and it makes so much sense now. I'm glad to be here. I wanted to throw some cool things up. I know I married the right one. When I look over in the comments and she throws Devil Wears Prada up there. Yeah, I didn't introduce. Do you know the band Devil Wears Prada?
I know the name, but I'm not familiar with their catalog.
They're from Ohio, man. They're a Christian band, but you would never know. They are hard, brother. One of my favorites. And I did save some comments real quick to shout out some of the chatters who I love and who, man, show so much love for your books as well as the channel together. Britton, hey, answer about the beard. I'm going to answer it. And the question is, did you trim it? It's funny you ask. I was hoping somebody would, because no, I didn't trim anything. I went to a new barber, and that guy had the balls. Even after telling him, please, brother, keep the length, he trimmed it up. And I've cried a little bit, but hey, it can always grow back, fellas and ladies.
That's okay, man. I got rid of mine. I mean, mine was halfway down my chest practically.
Yes, dude, you had it going on, and you still do. And I understand why people having a longer one before, it gets in the way, guys. It gets dirty. You have to take care of it. You have to take care of it, or it looks mangy. There's no other option. So, Britton,
plus
thanks
me
for
being in a professional environment, you know, during the work week, you know, I have to look presentable.
Sweating and oh man, and that dude, for sure. My guy, Michael Melwastel, another wonderful indie author, somebody we're going to do a buddy read on in my Discord very soon. Wonderful guy. Thank you for being here. That's an odd icon of pink hands he's throwing up there. I've never seen that one, my friend. Shad Zaman, my guy. I love seeing you here. Man, you spit the truth a lot. I see some of your tweets and well, not some, all of them. And it's just, you know, there's certain people in this community I'm like, my eyes have been trained to find, and you're one of them, my friend. And
he's been a great supporter of mine. So what's up, dude?
It was cool, man. I got to do a little live stream with him. I had no idea who he was, and to see how culture and what people do in their day-to-day in their normal life, what I don't, is so it's a treasure, man, to talk to people who do different things than me. Culture is so cool. And The Hellborn King is an awesome book. Oh, I cannot wait to gush about it, because look, I've got like a stack of lists of books I finished that I just haven't had the time to review. I'm going to drop a bunch all at once, and it's not going to be a bad one, my friend. It's very, very good. It's rock and roll metal. It is. I had no clue, because John's like, John, you know, my guy John, your guy John Douglas, author of The Black Crown. So cool that he's finally got that into the world. He's my favorite. He kept telling me he's my favorite grimdark author, and I know how much he loves grimdark, and I love grimdark. And to hear that was truly inspiring. I get it, man. Rock and roll. I think and I'm going to quote. No, I'm not going to quote. I'm going to paraphrase, as they say, because I'm terrible with remembering exactly everything. It blew my mind when I'm reading like the very beginning of your book, and I just remember of the Hellborn King, and you said something along the lines of the birds eating the carrion have parts of my brother in them that are dead and being carried away, and how that was troubling him. Like parts of his brothers were going and they were gone. And I was like, oh, who thinks that? Like only the golden minds of our today think stuff like that. And it really hit me hard because I can put myself in that position. My brothers are dead, and those birds, how dare they? Man,
I've got a cool story. I've got a cool story about that prologue that I just love telling. So originally when I started out doing this, I wanted it to be traditionally published. And so, you know, I wrote up the query letter, did all that stuff, and I submitted like the first 6 pages. That's typically what an agent will want, like 3 to 6 pages or whatever. So I submitted that, you know, from the prologue. But the prologue was different. I originally started the whole thing off post-battle, where he wakes up after the battle's over. And I was just, dude, I had 50 rejections, and I only had one that was somewhat personalized. And the gal said, you know, your writing is good, but I think you're starting in the wrong spot. And I really took that to heart, because it's like, this is the only agent out of 50 that's given me any sort of actual personal feedback. Yeah. So what I did was I sat down and I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, well, what if I backed it up a bit? So I took the original prologue, gutted it, and rewrote the entire thing in less than 2 days. And that's what ended up being in the book. And I just had a blast writing it, dude. The whiskey was flowing, the music was cranking, and I'm just hammering the keyboard and just loving it, man. Writing the prologue for that was so much fun. It's still probably my favorite thing that I've written yet.
It reads like that. You know, I don't say this hard. In fact, I don't think I've ever said it before on my channel. You know, when I think of you and your writing and your influences, I think, and excuse my language, kids, but just metal as fuck, guys. And you know me, I'm not a big guy that's going to sit on here and be super cussy, if you will. But excuse my French, that's where my brain goes. And I have to be honest, right? If one thing I do on this channel, I have to be honest. And that's what I think when I think of or read about or read into anything this gentleman writes. 100% honest. And what's really cool is also, it's like, oh, this is badass. But what I love about Breaking Benjamin, going back to a band, is their lyrics are personal and pull my heartstrings in a way. And it's the same thing that I'm saying when I talk about your writing. Very influential. To go down the list real quick, make sure I didn't miss anything, because, you know, I'm getting better at it, guys. I'm not as quick as the gangsters like Mike's Books Reviews and Andrew. He's really good at it. Murphy, my guy here. Kindles and Kicks. Oh, my guy. Music literally saved my life. That's amazing to hear. You are not alone. And to hear people say that, yes. Chris, I love that. Thank you, Kindles. Yeah, okay. Okay. Oh, that's amazing. Heck yeah. I would forever shout that out. I was the one that recommended it. Let it know, my friend. I love that. My friend Jim, and man, this has been a guy who came up with a slogan that I use, and it's "Fear the Beard." That's all on him. I said, you know, my wife does graphic design. I said, throw it together. And it's been so fun. Thank you for being here. So moving on, we'll move on to some more comments here shortly, guys. Oh, I have to throw it up because my guy Callum Lott, man, he is a metal lover. He knows what it is too. Nice.
Oh yeah, we've been DMing each other on Twitter with some music recommendations. I got him turned on to Shamash, which is my favorite band currently. And well, I wouldn't say currently, but it's been for a while. And yeah, he totally digs them. So I figured I'd rep it tonight in hopes that he'd turn up, and here he is. So what's going on?
Awesome, man. Yeah, he is a treasure, and I cannot wait to read his work. He's a huge fan of my favorite metal band, other than Metallica. I just feel like they get that no matter what. Lamb of God. He just went and seen them. I've seen them before, but not since 2009 with Metallica, actually. So yeah, he knows what it is for sure. Ithra, Ithra, I have to tell you, and I'm so glad because I've been planning this speech. The moment I saw you in the comments, you got me through like days of me just staring at the wall, waiting for the doctor to let me go home, right? Of what you're listening to and what you're saying about it and the people back and forth in the comments. So I wanted you to know that I'm a genuine person and I could never not tell you that. Keep it up. So lovely, not a big reader. I know music. Being a huge inspiration for you. Are there any sprinkles of anything else that you can add into that?
Sprinkles or anything else? Yeah, movies. I love I love fantasy movies. I love sci-fi movies. The new Dune movie, I saw it 3 times in the theater. Oh my god,
dude! I haven't heard a single like unfantastic thing.
Wait, hold on, time out. You haven't seen Dune 2 yet?
I've seen one, and I took my son to the movies the other day, and I was so tempting, but he would not have sat still.
Dude. It's that good. It's probably one of my all-time favorite movies. I mean, the first one was good. Me not being familiar with the lore and everything, I had to watch it a couple of times to really understand what was going on and the betrayal and the power brokering and everything. And then I fully got it. And then, I got up a hair, I got a hair at my ass one weekend. I was like, I kind of want to go to the movies. I haven't gone to the movies in a while. And I go to look at the theaters like, oh my God, Dune 2 is out this weekend. So I went and saw it on the ultra screen, and I'm just looking at it just going, this is one of the best movies I've ever seen, dude. It was incredible. Incredible.
I have heard that from many of people and those who were the reason I'm doing this on BookTube, like my biggest inspirations, Mike's book reviews, so many others that I can't bring to my mind right now. They are like, if this isn't my favorite movie, I can't name what my favorite movie is at the moment. Or this is brilliant. Or not only have I not seen a single negative thing, I've not seen a comment that wasn't completely gushing about the second movie. And I have seen one scene on accident, and it made my hair stand up. I don't know what scene this is. I'm not familiar with like this part in the book. It's the main character. He's finally got the blue eyes, and he's talking like this in another language. And I'm like, I kind of understand where this is going.
Is that like where he's in kind of like a cave giving a speech?
Yes,
that's that to me. That's the best scene of the movie, and that's the reason I went and saw it 3 times in the movie. Masterclass in acting. I mean,
where'd this kid come from?
Exactly. I mean, he's a young dude, and the gravitas that he brings to the screen in that role. I mean, he just like flips a switch too, because you kind of get the impression, from the first movie, and even starting off in the second one, it's like, okay, well, he's a little scrawny, he's young. Can he really be that guy? But then in that scene, you're like, oh my God, he is that guy.
Nobody else could be that guy.
Exactly. I mean, probably highlight of his career. I don't know if he's ever going to top that.
So I need to know his name. He deserves that for sure.
Timothy Chalamet.
Mm-hmm. Is that it? Okay. I didn't know this because of like Twitter, but me and my kids and my wife will sit down at night before the kids go to bed and throw up HBO Max and kind of like pick movies. Most of the time it's Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. But I saw there's a new Willy Wonka out, and he's the main actor. He's Willy Wonka, right? And it's not a story about Willy Wonka. This is not the classic or the remake, right? This is completely different, similar in ways, but awesome. I have to recommend it all the way. Even as one of those movies that's like, oh, this is kind of ballsy to remake it. I think they did wonderful. So I think this kid, well, I don't know if he's a kid, but he's certainly young, has a wonderful career ahead of him. So check that out, guys. The Willy Wonka on HBO that he's the main star of. That's amazing. So we got movies, we've got music. And when you think of influence, when I think of influences, I think literary influences are important to some authors.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm reading, I'm not seeing anything but these words and this certain way of being written, and music makes complete sense to me. When I'm feeling a scene or intensity, I can understand why that would come from a sick riff or some triplets on a really hard breakdown, or a random china or a bell at the end of like a sickest drum fill. I'm a drummer. And that is inspiration to me. I totally get it. And I didn't at first. So talking with guys like you about yours being such as music and movies has helped develop mine. So that's really, really cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Let's
and then also just real quick. Also,
please.
I like to hike a lot, and I also like to get out and go to different taverns, pubs, and stuff. And sometimes I'll bring my laptop. Like writing tavern scenes is my absolute favorite. And there's nothing better than sitting in a nice Irish pub where it's all decked out and everything, authentic looking. Got my headphones on, my laptop open up, and I'm just sipping on a pint and just pounding out a scene. Like it's incredible. So some of these scenes, like where it's like really vivid imagery of like the forest or something, that's all inspired from like actual hikes and actual places that I've gone to kind of draw inspiration from.
Couple things. There's few of them, few interviews I've done with what I'm about to say, but one in particular where somebody says, "Hey, Matt, what is your favorite trope?" 1,000,000% the tavern. Dude, if we're in a tavern, we're drinking honey mead, we're listening to some good music, we've got laughter, and then some kind of asshole walks in and we slap him around for a minute, get him out of here. Oh, dude, that captures my soul. Oh, man, I love it. It makes so much sense.
And my taverns are dirty and gritty. The floorboards stink like piss, and it's just
What?
But that's the world I built. It's dark. It's gritty. There's no polish to it.
Those are the things that I can see in those times, and me that I can look past with a good company and a nice drink, right? So yeah, it kind of stinks. There's some sticky stuff on the floor, but the pints, but the company. And I think when you're reading that, a darker book, those little nuances shine with more light than they ever would as a normal classic fantasy, epic fantasy. And it makes it, for me, such a higher experience. I was going to, I do this thing where I'm like, I was going to say something fun, and I'll get back to it if I think of it. Goodness, what the heck was it? It was gold. I had to ask you, and now I can't remember. We'll move on. I'll remember it.
Probably my fault for cutting you off.
Oh, no, it's my fault, because what I do is go off on tangents, and then like that tangent was supposed to lead into something, and that something evades me. So the visuals, the music, love it. One second here. When you try, so take me down the road that you walk when you're writing, and we've got the gritty, but we have those moments that show the human, right? And I love those. It's like, oh man, the whole time this character was, I'll use Glocta from First Law. The whole time, I looked at this guy as just almost inhuman, because there was no emotion other than like hate, misery, torture, and he didn't like portray anything other than that. And then at the end, there's this part where he's talking to Captain West, and this humanity comes out of him. What helps you develop those points in a book where an emotional response, or maybe like a turn in your a twist in what's going on in the plot, you want deep emotions like love, empathy to come across? What helps develop something? I know that's a deep question, but what helped develop a scene like that?
I think at a fundamental level, it all comes from experience. Real life experience does bleed through into the page. interactions between friends, relationships, that fell apart or whatever, or family drama or whatever. It does. Yeah, you do draw on that as inspiration. But for me to kind of have that depth with my characters, I knew when I first started out, I wanted to make the whole series, as realistic as possible. Obviously, there's some, supernatural stuff and a little bit of magic sprinkled in, which is ramping up throughout the series. But I knew I wanted it to be grounded in reality, and I did not want any character to be a parody of themselves. I wanted everybody to, regardless of their motivation, still be human. Granted, there's some that are better than others, and but what you'll notice when you read my books is that every once in a while there'll be some lines that are in italics, and that's the thoughts that are going on in that character's head. Yep. So, and what that character is saying is not necessarily what they're doing. And so I wanted to kind of, just bring out that authenticity of people. Like sometimes you can project confidence in a room and inside you're just like freaking out, or you're stoic on the outside, but you're just internally screaming and melting down. And I wanted to convey that on the page to bring these characters more to life and write them in a way that everybody can identify with at least one character. That was definitely a goal of mine. And it's very interesting to hear some people say, oh, like I hate Lucetta. I can't stand her whatsoever. But then I'll have buddies of mine that say Lucetta's the best character. She's the most fun to read because she's metal as fuck and she's just all this wicked shit's happening.
Yes.
So, and then other characters, other people say like, I really connected with Gareth because of his family problems and the depression and everything. And a very close friend of mine, whose mother just passed away, I want to give a shout out to Cheryl. She really identifies with Madeline, especially the struggles that Madeline has to endure in the second book. That because she I don't want to put a business out there, but has had health issues and everything, and used that character's perseverance as inspiration for her to help persevere. And so that to me, just that's it. I mean, I don't ever want to write anything that's hollow, and in order to do that, you really just gotta slather the layers on there, layers upon layers.
The answer that just came to your head and what I would hope I'd say in a similar situation: experience. I mean, that is the answer, the foundation of so many parts of, well, it's not just in us as individuals, but when we use our inspirations and flow our individuality and experiences and the characters, plot, the way we tell a story, particular points in that plot where, I need the reader to have an overwhelming sense of this emotion. I really think you did well, man. And you going and you've done acting, you've done music and writing, and I think it's incredible to find that you're excelling with all of these. I'm trying to word it the right way. That's why I'm kind of talking slow. Like, okay, you use these inspirations to do something that I can speak personally. I can't speak for everybody else. I've seen multiple other people think the same thing, but for me, incredibly emotional plot points, these characters that I end up like loving to hate or loving, as well as intimate moments such as the bird taking his brothers away with his brothers in the belly of the bird. I don't remember it exactly, but it was similar to that. And moments like that just capture me as a reader, because not every author, of course, does that in such an elegant way. So I wanted to make sure to tell you that comes through very well, and I love that.
Thank you.
Of course. So when did you steal my picture to make the cover? So who did the cover art?
So J. Caleb Design did that. I found him totally on the random. I knew I wanted to not have a very cartoony cover. I wanted it to be like somewhat photorealistic.
Yeah.
And so like literally I just went on Google and I searched fantasy book cover authors, and I was just kind of reading through articles or whatever, and I think he was like number, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, something like middle of a top 10 list or whatever. And I was just going through each one and looking at their portfolio, and I'm like, no. And then I get to his website and I go, this is the guy. This is him. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So I hit him up. I told him what I was kind of visualizing in my head. I gave him a choice of 3 different settings, a burned out village, a forest, or a destroyed castle. And I said, you do your thing. I want to give you as much creative freedom as possible. I told him what the character looks like. And he gave this to me on his first take. Now, granted, there was hair on the character. I had to tell him take the hair off because Damien's bald.
I agree. I agree.
But he delivered that just maybe within like a week.
Oh,
it was crazy. Yeah,
that's incredible.
So fast. Yeah, and then ever since then, I mean, I will not be so bold as to say this is his most prolific cover because I don't know, but I will say that there's been a lot of chatter about this guy ever since this cover came out, and like John, who who's in the chat right now. J. Caleb is his artist.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, you must have influenced the heck out of John because when it came to his cover, he's like, I know exactly who I want.
Mm-hmm. And I told Jake, I was like, you're gonna do all my covers from now until you decide to hang it up. But if you do hang it up, let me know because I'm gonna buy like all the subsequent covers just so I can have them all consistent.
Yes, if you're about to retire, I'm gonna work you until that last minute because I've got ideas, my friend, impossible ideas that I'm gonna cover.
Exactly.
My guy, Brian Bell, man, what's up? A guy that is very inspiring in many ways. A guy that has been such a cool guy, a friend. So I appreciate every moment that he's here because when I first saw him in his book channel, and guys, if anybody that I talk to or anybody in the chat hasn't checked his channel out, he's doing something very wonderful, and he makes me feel good. Most people, he makes me laugh. He makes me this. I don't know exactly. He does make me laugh. He does make me feel serious at moments, but he just makes me feel good watching his content. And I don't watch every second of everybody's content that I am a fan of. I watch every second of his. So if you aren't subscribed, my guy, Brian Bell, who, man, he's an inventor. These guys are just, they have all the ideas. So thank you for being here, my friend. My guy, E.C. Greaves. Can't say enough. Ed, I have received the package. He'll know exactly what I mean, but I will not spoil this for anybody. And I am such a terrible person that I just got home from the dungeon of, what I've been dealing with, and I haven't had a chance to reach out to you. Oh, we're going to do a fun video, me and you, about the package. So sorry to make everybody question, but he'll know what I'm saying. Brian, John A. Douglas loves the Hellborn King Saga. He says, Brian, you really do. Hellborn King is the best indie grimdark bar none. And that hasn't changed, Brian. Like, John was one of the first people that I connected with on, X or whatever, YouTube, whatever it was. And that's not changed.
Yeah, John has been a very early and very vocal supporter of mine. So I can't say enough good things about the guy.
If he likes something, and not just that, like, he likes a lot of things, I'm sure, but what he is,
if he likes something, he's militant about it. He will defend that thing to the death, and I admire that about him.
And he helps people every day too, man. He does wonderful work, whether it's on the keyboard or what he does day to day. He's a helper, and I love humans like that. So, man, you guys are amazing. It's so cool to be back and kind of talking and seeing all you wonderful people in the chat and bringing that up. Chris, thank you for letting me take the time to shout some people out. So let's get to the meat and potatoes, right? And this is what I changed. My newer interviews, we kind of start where I'm about to go now. And I don't think it was a bad thing. Right. It was me kind of just experimenting, but I think I've found what I like to do. We've got some background, we've got some experience, we have your inspirations, kind of some things that we know about you now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into, tell everybody the series name, the what you have published so far, and give us just the overview, if you would. Doesn't have to be super detailed, just kind of the elevator spiel, if you would.
Yeah, so it's the series is called the Hellborn King Saga. Started off with this one right here that I published in 2021, the Hellborn King. And then it went to the Wrathbringer, which is the second main installment of the series. And then this past summer, I put out the Servitor of Sin, which is a prequel novella. It's only like 66 pages. You can get that. You can get the ebook for that for free if you go to my website and sign up for my mailing list. And that's kind of why I did it, just to kind of generate some traffic and build a mailing list. I wanted to put a freebie out there, but you can get a physical copy on Amazon for like $6. It's pretty cheap. And then right now I'm working on the Queen of Scorn, which is the third main installment. And even though I had the most fun writing the prologue for the Hellborn King, I can confidently say that the prologue for the Queen of Scorn is my best writing yet. I'm so fucking stoked about it. And as a matter of fact, for those of you who are familiar with my audiobook narrator, Guy Barnes, him and I are teaming up, and he's going to narrate the prologue for the Queen of Scorn, and I'm going to put that out there. And that's breaking news right now. I haven't told anybody, so now you know.
Right, dude. It was way after. So I'll put a little background real quick. Christopher sent me this book like a year or more ago. I feel like one of the very first books I ever received, like as a review copy, and it was so cool the day that I got to read along, finish, and do an immersion read, because his narrator. Will you say his name again?
Guy Barnes.
Guy Barnes, my friend. If you're listening, man. You did it, because you are very easy to listen to. There's intensity where there needs to be. There's subtleness and where there needs to be. And look at that cover, my friends. That's just gorgeous.
Caleb just does not miss. He just does not miss.
when it comes to covers, like it's like Chris said, he doesn't miss. He hits every time as he swings. On the first strike.
This cover was different the first time he sent it to me. There was like a burning castle, and she was wearing a cloak and everything, and I was like, this is kind of cool, but I had a few suggestions. He gets back to me maybe like 2 weeks later, and he's like, man, you know what? I completely scrapped it. I threw the whole thing out and started over because I was just thinking about it, and it's just like it just didn't do it for me. So I completely redid it for you. Here it is, and I looked at it and went, bam, that's it,
folks. That's a lot of time thrown away.
Yeah, the only change I had to make is that in her other hand she's holding a dagger, because I wanted her to be, I wanted to change the pose up a little bit, but he nails it 95% right off rip, and then it's just just little tweaks here and there. But yeah, when I saw that cover, I pulled the trigger on it early because I was really struggling. I was actually struggling to write. Like I had hung it up for weeks. I wasn't writing anything, and I was like, you know what? I need to kick myself in the ass. So why don't I just have him make the next cover? Because then I can have that staring at me in the face. So I just pulled the trigger on it early and had him do it, and it's the screensaver on my phone, and yeah, it's just always staring me in the face, and it's a reminder that I have to keep going.
So without being this far in the series, I'm not 100% sure what the words that are going to come out are accurate here, but what I see is somebody, and I mean the black-haired girl with the double fisting. She's got a long sword. She got a short sword. I think that's what that is. And she's here to take care of business and let you know she's not to be messed with.
Absolutely.
And then this guy, he's just there he's troubled, but he's determined. And there's lots of fire. He's like, man, I got to stay away from the flames. But while I do that, I'm going to sit and ponder for a second about what I need to do next.
It's really cool when you really zoom in on the Hellborn King artwork. You can see the fire glowing in his eyes because he's staring at the burnt out remains of Borgifa.
So these
This is his
people,
village. Yeah.
these men and women that do fantastic covers, if you don't know what goes into that and you think it's like, well, it's hard to really know what goes into it. If you don't know what goes into it, you're not going to guess it. You're not going to see that process, come to fruition without actually seeing that process. So educate yourself if you don't know. Your respect for these cover artists and the detail that goes into the covers, the layout, whether it's the front cover, back cover, the spine. You've got typography guys. By the way, I don't know what this font is, but it's incredible. It's amazing.
It's been used here or there. It's not a completely original font, but then again, going back to what we said earlier about every story's already been told, well, every font's already been used. I mean, so yeah, of course, Brian Lee Durfee, I mean, his font, I don't think it's a exact 1-to-1.
It's not,
but it's close. It's close.
Yeah,
it kind of gives you that same vibe.
It's actually, it's got quite the difference. I think like it's not as fierce as the Hellborn King. They're similar. They're blocky. But at the same time, I see a lot of renditions of this text on Amazon. That's not what I thought with this. This is its own thing, and it's perfect. It's bold. I like silver kind of rugged lettering. And it's funny. I tell my wife to always do rugged lettering like this. She's like, that doesn't work for everything. I'm like, I know, but maybe it will.
I've been told that the lettering for my books looks like a 80s heavy metal type band logo almost, So the first time I heard that, I was like, hey, I can get down with that.
Of course. Yes, of course. Tommy Lee, we've got Ronnie James Dio. There's a whole list we could go through, guys. So we've got book 1, The Hellborn King, which, guys, if you are a fan of a good chunky book, the one you're going to grab if you have a home invader, you're not going to hit. You're not going to miss with this series. So book number 1. The Hellborn King. Book number 2 is
The Wrathbringer.
The Wrathbringer, and we have book number 3 coming out. Do you have a release date?
I do not, but it's increasingly looking like it's going to be a 2025 release, just because my job, the nature of what I do, being in upper management and everything, and
sure.
Just not wanting to fumble on the third book, because I've been told by many people, like Under the Radar SFF Books, Blaze, want to give a shout out to him. Andrew's Wizardly Reads. All these guys have said that, the Wrathbringer was a big upgrade over the Hellborn King. I do not want to fumble now on the third one and just completely lose people. So I'm taking my time with it. I'm making sure it's very well done, and it's probably going to be the most action-packed book of the series. But I just really want to stick the landing on this, and so just kind of looking at where we're at halfway through April, it just the numbers just aren't there. I mean, it's going to have to be a 2025 release, unfortunately.
What's beautiful and what I predict is these flood of new readers for you, and that release date's not an issue, because these books are chunky monkeys, and those are my favorite. You get lots of different aspects that you won't in a short fantasy novel.
You can get through them pretty quick. I mean, I've been told that my books read pretty easy, which is what I aimed for.
I think that experience is wonderful when that happens, when there's a big old book and you're like, why did I just get through that so fast? Because I can agree with those people.
I intentionally start and end every chapter with maximum tension, as much tension as I can put in that scene, so that, when you start a chapter, the first sentence or the first paragraph just hooks you. You're like, oh boy, here we go.
100.
And then the last one ends on such a tense note. You're like, it's 10 o'clock. I need to go to bed. Maybe one more chapter.
Yes.
And that's kind of
that was my last night with this book. So very recently finished it, and without giving to, I like to give my reviews to the author first, and you're going to absolutely enjoy it. I promise. But what my favorite thing is giving my reviews to the author first, because I think being constructive and showing how much you love something, it's going to mean the most to the person who created that. And to me, I think that making people excited or happy is the funnest thing that another human being can do. Another thing I've found I didn't know I would love is these written reviews that I never would have ever guessed I'd be into. So it's been a little while since I've dropped one, but I'm a part of FanFi Addict and Before We Go blog, and very excited because there's no amount of reviews for one book that capture it for every single person. I've seen multiple reviews for, let's just say, book A, and they've all hit me in a different way, and excited to be a part of that process. So what are you, I know you're working on book 3 right now. Do you have anything else coming up as far as in the literary realm? I know you do like signings. Do you have any conventions, stuff like that? And you're in cheese country, by the way, right?
Oh no, I'm in Packer country.
Yes, Packer. I like that. Packer country up there in the north where the real snow hits.
Don't you talk about the Bears around here? You get hurt.
That's right. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I do local signings in Racine, where I'm from. I'm doing a bigger book convention in Milwaukee in September. Awkward Nerd Events is the promoter that puts that on.
Awkward Nerd Events.
Awkward Nerd Events. Yeah, I did it last September, and fantastic experience. You know, I was sitting next to New York Times best-selling authors. I mean, the guy that writes the Star Trek books, was sitting right next to me, and so you know, it was pretty cool, man. It was kind of surreal, but
I'm gonna shout him out.
I like you know, I like to get out, and I like to do signings and just talk with people and just, you know, shoot the shit and have a good time. So I plan on doing as much of that as I can throughout the year, but it's mostly going to be probably in the Milwaukee to Chicago area. So
that sounds realistic. You know, that's where you're at, and let's be honest, it's very hard for people. You know, you hear of authors that, you know, very, very big authors that are traditionally published, for instance, you know, they go to like Glasgow, and then they're over here in San Francisco. It's like, that is not possible for everybody. But I think what I see quite a bit with you and following you is you are a fan of your fans and people wanting to talk and get, you know, the sign thing, being out there and being sociable with the thing that you love, the thing that you've created. And that's incredible. Not everybody's like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've mailed out signed letters and signed, you know, prints of the Hellborn King cover to you know, people who hit me up on X, and just, you know, they love the book, and, you know, they say, oh my God, thank you so much, you know, I'm such a fan, or whatever. And, you know, I'll ask them for their address and I'll mail them an autograph, you know, just to show my appreciation for them, you know.
I can personally say that that's 100% accurate. When I reached out to Chris, I had 2.5 followers. Like exactly 2.5. So he is about spreading what he loves to do, and it's a genuine thing. It's not like, I got to do this, or this is part of the process. It's oh, you know what? I'm ordering some books. I'm going to be here. I'm doing this then, and that's a true inspiration. I can sense that with everything you're doing. My guy Brian Bell wants to know, do you recommend reading the prequel novella before book 1?
I do not. As a matter of fact, I recommend reading them in the order they were published, just because if you jump into the prequel novella, you're not going to have the right context, because I wrote it with the understanding that you're already going to know who these characters are. You're already going to know the setting. You're already going to know, you know, the events of book 1 and even book 2. So I would definitely recommend reading them in order of publication. I mean, could you read the prequel novella first? Yeah, sure, but I don't think you're going to get as much out of it.
I'm writing that real quick, Pope. That's great to know. I assume such, just being more familiar with it. But I love that people ask those kinds of questions, because it's really hard as an interviewer to cover every question that somebody's going to have. So, guys, that's very influential, very wanted. If you have things like that are so important, I think those are wonderful questions to ask. Please do. 1 second, guys. order. I'm just adding that at the bottom, so if anybody, because that's a big point. Later, I'm also going to add Chris. All of it's in the description, of course. You can see it right this second, but I'll have it on the ticker here in a few minutes. His link tree, because all of your links that are relevant, possibly like are within that link tree. Cool, yeah. Awesome. That's in the description at the moment, but I will put it on the ticker soon. So it's funny because. Anyway, I had a question based on something I already knew about you that now it's like, oh, crap. He's not a huge reader, so this goes out the door. My brain is mush. So who are a couple people, I love asking this question. It's one of my favorite. Who are a couple people, if you, one, it doesn't matter, however many people you want to let me know of, who are important to you or you're influenced by, or who you'd like to see me based on what you know about me, chat with, whether it's editor, author, movie, it doesn't matter. Who would that be? And literally, it can be anybody.
I would actually like to see you do some collaboration with other booktubers. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite things that I haven't done a lot of. I'm planning on doing much more. This is brilliant. I want to let you know that this is brilliant. Thank you for that answer. It leads right into my night tomorrow. We had something planned, just like you and I, a while back. It kind of got smashed. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, I'm going to be chatting with the wonderful, incredible, influential guy. One of the reasons I'm here on BookTube, personally, that gave me the kind of courage to do this. Matt from Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews. So very excited tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern to kind of build on what Chris was just suggesting. A couple things that I want to shout out. I'm very pleased with this conversation, meaning I don't always have these lists of questions that I'm dying to know, right? Sometimes when you do I found when I do an interview, I have general lists of questions that are good to ask because that's what interviewers do, is ask these questions. But when I knew I was going to talk to you today, finally, these were very prepared. And I want to say every single one of the questions that I just really wanted to get your take on have influenced me even more so after I have talked with you. It's been a huge amount before talking with you, just reading and seeing how you do your thing and what you're about. But now that I've actually sat down and gotten to know you a little bit better, we're going to be doing, I hope we're going to be doing it in the future, some fun things. I've got some fun ideas that I want to throw your way for some recorded videos, some collaborations with other authors. So excited to throw those at you very soon.
Yeah, I mean, and this goes for anybody, in the BookTube world or, Twitter world or whatever. I'm always available. Just hit me up, man. I mean, if I have an opening in my schedule, I'd be more than happy to talk to you, talk to anyone. Hey, just hit me up.
And one thing and it's a consensus between anybody in this community. It's like, indie authors and people such as myself who want to eventually write. Sure, that's what I'm aiming for. But what I'm doing mostly at the moment is trying to acquire that knowledge, that experience that you've had, or these wonderful authors in the past interviews have had. Yeah. And the reviewers and interviewers, booktubers, if you will, are amongst the highest inspired people I've ever. I don't know if that makes. I maybe not even said that with real English guys, but are amongst the highest inspired people I know. What they're about is talking about what they love, and that's fantasy and sci-fi, and with this indie community, we get that personal touch, right? That extra dive into things that you don't always get with other authors. So yes, I encourage and look forward to watching many more interviews, not only on my channel, but many others with Mr. Christopher G. Brenning, and it's been an honor, my friend.
Yeah, and I just on a personal note, I have to say that it's been very satisfying to see your channel, your platform taking off. I mean, because like you said, when you hit me up about a book, you had like nobody following you. I mean, you were literally just starting out, and now you got more followers than I do on X, and you're blowing up and everything, and it's been very satisfying.
Well, man, that's amongst some of the nicest and kindest and things that I'll hold forever dear said to me on my channel, because it comes from somebody that I know is just as inspired by what you're doing and what I'm wanting to do and reading and this whole community as myself. So I really, really am honored and looking forward to, thank you, John. Thank you so much. Ithra, that's in the works. I would love to talk with him. But it's been amongst the highest honors and the most fun and the most influential parts of me being, able to talk with authors such as yourself. So to reiterate, and I guess I can still do this thing, right? You kind of question yourself after you haven't done it for a while. You're like, hold on, am I going to remember?
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Chris. This will not be the last time we chat on the channel. Thank you for all of you that were here live, and you guys really make it fun. Something that Chris and I were saying before we come live was, look at people who are chatting already. That is like the coolest thing ever to me. I don't know why, I just think it is. And I'm sure the authors as well. So all of you that will also watch this, the replay, thank you as well. It's a huge honor. Tomorrow, I will be chatting with Matt from Matt's Fantasy. I had to think for a second. I'm getting back in the game, guys. Give me a break. Matt's from Matt's Fantasy Book Reviews, somebody who's inspired me very much so, just like Chris has. So tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern, we'll be chatting. Be there. And Chris, I hope you have what bourbon did you choose?
I wanted to choose something fitting for tonight, so I chose Jim Beam Devil's Cut.
Yes.
So
that is perfect. I'm a beer drinker. In fact, not really even beer. Like I like a nice hard cider. Bourbon is too much for your guy here. I wish that I could. I love hobbies. I love little things that I can dive deep into.
Yeah.
It's not bourbon for me. So I think that's awesome, man. And there's so many wonderful artists doing crazy things with bourbon. So explore it, man. That's cool. Thank you for sharing. Devil's Cut. I may have to pick it up just because you're drinking it. Again, thank you guys. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for you guys. We'll watch the replay. See you tomorrow at 9 with Matt. And we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much.